Remember when you hired into the Olds, Mr. Ording?
Well, it's not a record. But the old,
We can check that out.
I think it was 1933.
Is that right? What did you do?
Well, I worked in the experimental machine shop.
Where was that located?
Oh, it was located in the main plant, but at that time, it was a new building. Just it was through on Division Street, Pine Street. Pine Street goes right straight through the middle of the plant there, and it was on that street.
It's on Pine to the east or
Yeah,
the west?
that's where the tool room is now. It wasn't there then. I forget what was in there, but the tool room was the experimental department, experimental machine shop was to the west. It was on Pine Street on the left, first building when you go through the gate. And now the tool room is on the east side of Pine Street. And that's that was converted to production, sheet metal production.
What did you do?
They moved, of course, they moved the experimental machine shop over into the engineering building when they built the engineering building.
Was that building 64 or building 66 you're talking about?
No number, it's in
Which side
60s.
Which side of the street?
Well, the
was
engineering building is just outside of what we used to call the entrance to the plant. It's on Olds, is it Olds Avenue that runs east and west? Yeah. Across
Elm Street.
Elms. Well,
I see. No, you mean Olds Avenue, and this would be on the south side of it. Is that right?
On the north side.
On the north side,
Yeah.
Building 66.
Yeah, the first street.
Right.
That's
Olds Avenue.
Olds Avenue, yeah, sure. Well, it was right on the, right there, it's the first building, that was the new engineering building, and
Right.
that was there.
Okay.
And, of course, all the machine work and stuff was transferred, but when I went there, they were building this first eight-cylinder. I forget the name of that, what they used to call it now, but
So you were working on the 8-cylinder
yeah,
engine?
we were working on the first eight-cylinder engine. Well, what they call it was
Was that
who was the president of General Motors at that time?
was that McEwen? Oh, president of GM?
Yeah, GM. Anyway, it was sorry, named after him.
You mean Mr. Kettering? You working on that? That couldn't be that engine.
Kettering.
Because that came
Yeah,
later. That
could
came
be.
in the late 40s.
Could be. Yeah, this was earlier than that. It was a big, massive automobile with a huge eight-cylinder engine that didn't survive very many years.
Now, was this a V8
Yeah,
or a
A
straight
V8. It was a 90-degree
V8?
V8 engine.
That-
And
This was in 1933.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm sure it was.
But it was a big engine, a big
Yeah,
car.
and we had to machine all it. I can remember making connection rod bolts for the screw the cap of the connection rod, two for full bolts, I guess, bolts around, And we had made them all on the way in. Just an amazing way, you know. And of course, everything was held to very rigid tolerances, you know, the experimental deal. So that's the first job I remember working in.
Who was your boss? Do you remember?
Pardon?
Who was your boss? Your foreman?
Who was it? Oh, I know who was the boss. It was Skidmore. Skidmore. You got anybody by the name of Skidmore?
We can check that out. Mhm.
And the other guy, he was a Scotsman. I can't remember, like Bob, somebody, Bob. And Skidmore was the general foreman. And it's under there, helped him out.
Now, this was still in building.
Building 40. It must have been 38 or but probably 38, I think would be the number of the building.
Okay.
In other words, it's just west of building 40. Next door neighbor, the building 40.
Oh, yes. Did you work on the first level, the first floor?
Pardon?
Did you
First
work
floor.
on the first floor?
Yes.
Okay. How many worked in this area there where you were machining parts?
Oh, we must have had about 30 people in there.
Oh, do you remember what your hourly rate was?
Don't very much. I think about 60, 70 cents an hour or something like that.
Did you get paid for overtime?
No.
Did you?
Oh, no, I don't remember. I don't think it was any. We didn't do any overtime anyway much.
And this was all experimental.
Yeah.
So when you came to work each day,
We had a new boring machine in there. We bored the cylinder block, you know.
oh,
And we did it. We made the whole engine, you know, connecting rods, and of course they were forged, but all the machining, everything.
you did all of the machining that went into the engine. Now, these were experimental engines that they were using in the cars.
They build one up, and take it over to, what is it, that place over there, Milford.
The proving ground, right?
Test it. And we used to have we had a garage right next to the machine shop. In other words, the machine shop was in the south end of the building, and the garage or the drive-in now was up north of the machine shop.
Well, did you ever see the cars when they were with your engines in it being tested there at the Lansing plant?
No.
That was all done at Milford.
No, they took them and drove them out there to just out to Milford. And we had a test track up there. And, I got a son who's an engineer with a sighting steering gear, and he used to drive test cars out in Colorado and stuff. So that's about all I know Then,
How long did you work in experimental machining?
about a year maybe.
Were the working conditions pretty good?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they were good. Oh, good place. I never had any complaint about it in the morning.
Do you remember?
Place to work.
Oh, no, it is a good place. Do you remember any of the incidents about, when they were testing the engines, on, what may have gone wrong that caused them to, redesign an engine? Do you remember any incidents like that? You didn't, to get it. I see.
They did have a dynamometer there in experimental building where they used to run them and check them, but I didn't understand it.
Then you were there about a year and then you moved on to where?
Well, I got a job at the Michigan School in Oswego Street.
Oh, yes.
They got laid off.
Oh, you did.
Cutting down the experimental force there in the department. And so I got a job call that I knew worked over the Michigan School, and so I went over there and saw him, and he got me in over there.
What did
So
you,
I worked there for a couple of years, I
what did
guess.
you do at Michigan Screw?
Run a lathe, made tools, tools for operation. Let's see. It's true. That's the same. The Michigan School was on Osborne Street, and that's where the liquor control commission is now. There has been, I don't know whether it's there now or not, but it used to be.
Yes.
And, and, and then, I guess it was after that, stint at Michigan School, that I worked, for, the Hill Diesel Engine Company, where the Hill Diesel Engine Company was. It was down on, I can't even remember the name of the street,
That's all.
but it was, lumber yard,
Capital City Lumber.
Capital City Lumber or something,
Capital City.
on Michigan Avenue. But what lumber company was that? Right there in the corner of that street, as I say, I can't think, Mill Street, where Mill Street.
Sure I do.
Yeah, well, that's where
The Hill Diesel.
Hill Diesel Engine Company was down. You get on Mill Street, you're down to the end, down when the bridge is going over Main Street there, or Kalamazoo Street.
That's where the Ariel's Transportation Museum is now.
Yeah, well, that used to be the Hill Diesel Engine Company.
What did you do there?
Run a lathe. and we made these diesel engines
What were they used for?
For trucks and stationary. It was mainly originally built for a stationary engine for like running a power plant, say, generating electricity.
Okay.
And this Harry Hill at London owned the company. He wanted to make a truck engine, so he put it in the truck. But it was a big, long, straight, long as that board there or more. straight 6 cylinders, and I think they built a 4 too. Yeah, I think they built 6 was the biggest one, and so he got a notion for an advertising scheme. He wanted to build one of those, put in a truck and drive it to California, which he did eventually.
Hmm.
and you know, he do a little advertising along the way, like stop into a gas station and procure their worn out oil that they want to dump away somewhere anyway. Fill this diesel up with it and take right off and run again.
Well, what was this, about 1935 when you were at the Hill
Oh,
Diesel?
no, probably was 35, yeah. And then it's in 35.
And do you remember what you, 35, 36, do you remember what you were earning when you worked there?
Well, no, I don't remember I can't remember what the wage scale was at that time. It's enough to get by, huh?
Sure.
Yeah.
Were the working conditions good? Do you remember the name of anybody that you worked with? How long did you work there at Hill Diesel?
Not very long. Get back into the old as soon as possible.
Okay, do you
Remember the fellow working anywhere else between there? You know, I don't recall any other contact.
So then you went back to Oldsmobile. Did they call you back or did you keep knocking on their door? Okay. Do you know what time you went back then again? 37, maybe?
Yeah, we were around 37.
Where did
I
you
went
work?
back into the tool room.
To the,
Yeah, they were putting on extra help. And,
where was that located then? On the two,
well,
what building?
Building 40.
Building 40.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was your foreman?
Brian Apey.
Brian Athey. Huh? Remember?
He wasn't mine. The guy that I worked for, I was a lathe operator primarily, and the guy that I worked for was a very nice young man, and he got killed in a hunting accident. So I already know him. Maybe the next year or so.
You remember his name?
Uh, can't think of his name.
That sounds right. Now you worked on,
Nice fellow, wonderful guy.
you said you worked on the lathe. You were a lathe operator.
Operator.
What does a lathe operator do?
Well, we turn shafts, spin the shafts, and machine the metal off, but whatever.
And these shafts were used how?
Multiple uses. If it's anything from that long to as long as from here to the end of the
I think from about 3 inches to about
10
20 feet.
Yeah.
10 feet. Okay.
Yeah.
And how big around would that piece be?
Oh, they were not necessarily shafts. I mean, that was not the full thing. We made cylinders too, and bushings, and
Okay.
and
Small part.
internal boring, and
Internal boring.
yeah.
Would that be on the engine?
Well, or equipment for the plant.
I see.
Yeah, no, not necessarily an engine part. It would be a shaft for a machine on the plant somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, or a gear or a shaft or a bushing or like these big presses, from the sheet metal, we make sleeves for those big flywheels that operated the ram on the press. Everything. We make everything from clay. No, I wouldn't attempt to tell you all the variety of machining operations you can do on a lathe.
Why not?
Oh, I can't think of them all. No, but
Well,
you
any
know,
you think of.
when you get in working on the thing, and a job comes up and says, "Oh, we can do that on a lathe," you know. I worked right next to a guy that was a very expert lathe operator. I was just a kid, you know. I was married, I guess, but I was rather inexperienced according to some of those guys. And
Remember that fellow's name?
yeah, Louis Rockwell.
Louis
He's
Barkwell.
Black,
Black
Brock, B-R-O-C-K,
Rockwell.
He's dead now.
Okay.
And, but you know, you learn a lot. Getting working next to a guy like that, and seeing how they do things, and how they set a job up, and how they check it and everything. Somebody that's, in fact, I don't think he ever did anything else the wrong way. You know, he was an expert lathe operator.
What safety precautions did they have?
Oh, well, how to wear safety glasses. Other than that, you were instructed to put your hands in other words, if you're cutting off a shaft and the shaving, the curling off the shaft, you're supposed to have a hook to keep them from wrapping around your work, you know. But sometimes they get to wrapping around your work or around your chuck or something, and it's an inconvenience to say the least. You have to stop your machine and clear it, seal those shavings. So you got a hook about that long, you can reach in there while it's kind of direct the stream of shavings where it won't do any damage.
So you could reach in the machine with the hook on
Well,
still running.
You know the tool. I know you know anything about lathes or
No, I don't.
no. Well, you got the geared head is on the left here, and then what they call a tailstock is on the end, on the other end, and there's two parallel ways, and then the part that holds the tool that does the cutting is called the carriage, and then there's this tool post that sets up on a swivel base, and it's blocked on there securely so it can't be easily moved. And then you got a screw that runs the crossways of the machine, the ways and this carriage sets on these parallel ways. In other words, they're machine 90-degree V's, and they set on a V rail and travels along the rail. So it's geared up so with the mechanism in the head of the lathe to turn the screw. There's a screw that runs along front, and And this screw has an enclosed with you can open and close this brass nut that feeds the carriage in any particular spiral or screw or pitch of screw that you want to cut. You do that by an exchange of gear, a gear train, and then you engage the proper gear ratio with the head to cut the correct amount of revolutions per minute or per inch, uh, like a screw that's 1 inch in diameter and 8 threads per inch or something like that. See, you just that's geared up in the head of the lathe to transfer that lead of your work and your screw that pulls the carriage along the ways of the machine is geared to cut that 8 threads per inch. Then when it gets to the end, or you jerk your tool back out of the work and move it back and take another cut, so you've got the proper depth of thread.
Well, that's quite a precision instrument, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's just it's just all worked out mathematically in the pitch of the gears and the gear ratios that are set up to get almost any size threads you want from 25 or 30 threads to the inch down to 2 threads to the inch. By just changing your approach through the gear train, see? So that's a little sample of what lathe work is all about. See?
It's very precise, very interesting. Did you ever have an accident or see anyone that has an accident? Tell me about it. What
I
happened?
remember one time I was doing something dumb and I forget just how it happened, but I had a tool, a drill chuck in the sleeve of the tailstock. And I was knocked that out, see, you crank that back until it hits a stop it back inside the quill. It'll knock your chuck loose, crank that back until it hits that pin, it'll knock your chuck out. So first you're supposed to have it hang on to it, see? And I was hanging on to it and I forget what it was. It was my tool sitting here and I was reaching over the tool holder to catch this chuck and it's loosened up and pull it out, see? Well, there was a shaving or something cut the chuck and before I could let go of it, it banged my hand again. I got a bump on I think it was right there.
Feel it. Let's see.
That happened for not attempting to remove the chuck while the machine was running. That's that was.
You really
No.
It was rather time consuming to shut
Everybody-
it down too, wasn't it? Shut the machine down while you were
Oh, you just have to cut off the power, push the button, or throw it out of gear or something. So the touch doesn't turn the mechanism.
Did you ever see anybody else have an accident?
Oh, I presume so. I don't.
Did
I
they have,
know they always have had.
did they have a good safety, first aid station nearby
Oh, yeah.
where you could
Yeah,
get help?
they had safety treatment room, you know, for accident, first aid accidents. And they went over in the main office building.
Would that be building 60? The administration
Yeah, it
building?
used to be. I don't know where it is now. I think they still have one over there. And then they have area ones around the plant in various locations where you can go and get a cut wrapped up and disinfected and stuff.
Then you'd go right back to work if it wasn't too bad. I see.
Mhm.
Did you belong to a union to work there in the plant?
I belong to
Which union did you belong to?
that didn't come along until 40 or something like that. I was there when they organized the union anyway.
Which union did you belong to? Well, we're in business again, Mr. Ording.
Okay.
So you joined the union in about 38, you think?
Yeah, I
UAW?
think so. Yeah, that was about the time they decided that union would be a good idea.
Did you feel that it helped you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
How, in what way?
Well, it sort of gives some rhyme or reason to wage scales, which were rather hit and miss. You know, the boss had a particular friend. He came in, give him whatever price within the certain limits, of course. Uh, well, the guy that worked there for 10 years probably got a nickel less an hour or something. So, it depended on you. Although you got more of a guarantee of getting paid according to your ability and because you were a particular friend of somebody.
Did seniority help too?
Oh, yes, yes, you got I forget what we got periodic raises as in the beginning there. I forget just how they were. If you hadn't had a raise for a year or something, you usually got maybe a 2-cent raise or something like that. I went to work there. Well, I forget it. I think I got 69 cents an hour.
No, that was
Finally,
experiment.
yeah,
Change it.
or maybe I'm thinking of the tool room. I forget what I got. Experimental shop. But I think my number kind of flashes in my mind, 69 cents now.
That was
And it didn't seem like very much money, but
well, this would be about 1938.
yeah,
So
yeah. But I suppose they sort of tied me in with what I was getting the last time I worked there or something. And so, but eventually I hadn't been there a year when I was getting $1 an hour like the rest of them.
now was that
I had,
still in the lathe operation?
yeah. And then, of course, I progressed from the lathe on one lathe for many years. But then I got a chance to work on the locator machine, did precision boring and locating holes and stuff and fixtures and parts.
What, was that before the war or during the war?
That was before the war. Yeah. Then the war come along and we started building guns and shells and 20 millimeter guns and 90 millimeter guns and I worked on all that stuff.
What did you do? In what building were you then?
Well, the building where the 90 millimeter work was done was over, well, what I was telling you about, the next to the tool room on the west side of the Pine Street. And then that was the initial. We made breech rings and tubes, barrels, breech block, and then they I'm getting ahead of my story there. Anyway, we had to return, and then on the next building to the east, that's where they built the 20 millimeter. And of course, we were working in the tool room. We were making tools and stuff for machining these uh, cannon pieces.
For both 90 and 20?
Yeah, yeah. And we had a big slaughter. About it was 38 had a 30-inch stroke. And you know what a slaughter is? It machines the inside of an internal cavity, like the breech block has got the breech ring has a square cavity in there that the breech block fits into, and the breech block, of course, holds the shell, and it's pretty hard to explain this stuff unless you got a blueprint to.
I can understand. You're doing very well.
You don't understand the gyrations. But anyway, it was very interesting, and
Did you put in a lot of overtime?
yeah, quite a lot. I don't remember.
Do you remember what you were
We used to
earning?
work. I remember we worked every day, and one week we worked 8 days one week.
How'd you do that?
Because they changed the starting day from Sunday to Monday or something, or back to Sunday. I forget what it was, but anyway, we had another date tacked down to that particular week. So,
Remember your foreman's name when you were working on the 20 and the 90 millimeter
no,
superintendent or anyone that you
No.
may have worked with?
I should know him, but I don't. Those things that sort of left my memory.
That's a long time ago too.
Yeah.
So all of the war, then you were making the
Oh yeah. I mean, well, and then we went from 90 millimeter. I was still making 90 millimeter guns, and shell. We made shells too, and boards with shape the shell, nose and end of it, and I won't attempt to explain to you all the operations, but there were multitude of them.
What did you do after the war?
And the shell has a copper or a brass band that goes around that guides it through the rifling on the barrel, so that controls the accuracy of the projectile. And all these shells are fitted with a brass or copper band that goes around the shell. And that's a particular operation too, to put that on there and
Were
seat
you
it.
involved?
No, I must have done that. I just throw that in.
Sure. Well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that underground firing range where they tested?
No, I know a guy that worked on that though while I was testing it.
Do you remember his name?
George, uh, can't think of it, man.
That's him, right?
Can't think of
Mhm.
it. He was a pretty good friend of mine.
So during the war, you were primarily working on making the tools
Yeah, right.
for the
Tools,
the machines that built the guns and the cannon.
Right.
Mhm. Then after the war, what did you do?
No, we built a compressor and for 75 millimeter. No, wait a minute. What do they call it? Was a airplane engine.
Oh, the Jet Sapphire.
Jet Sapphire. That's right.
So what did you build a what for that?
We built the compressor and can't think of the term. The the shaft, the compressor is composed of the shaft and these pins are placed on discs that are mounted onto the shaft.
Like little flanges?
Yeah, and they're set on a kind of an angle. This is, that rotates around, it compresses the air that forces the airplane through the skies.
See, gives it
The turbine and the compressor. That's the thing I was word I was trying to think of. We made the turbine and that also has a bunch of pins on it, and they were very, very precisely machined and polished. And
Where were you? Still at the main plant doing this work?
no, we did that over on Saginaw Street, across
Plant 3?
Plant 3.
I see.
Yeah, I was in engineering at that time.
Who did you report to then?
Well, whoever was the chief engineer, I can't think of that.
See?
Uh,
Youngren?
Bill, I worked with a guy by the name of Bill Yates. He was a senior engineer, but he wasn't the boss or anything.
That was over in Plant 3.
Yeah.
I see. Now, this was
we used to turn these, we made this an aluminum shaft, and then it had the spaces on the shaft, with, these, discs. The disc is another part of the compressor. It's about, so big, about
4 feet?
2 foot, 3 foot maybe, diameter. And we had to machine the contour of this to a particular design, from about that thick out on the rim to that thick down by the shaft.
So about,
Yeah.
about 3/4 of an inch to about 5 inches.
Oh no, there wasn't that much difference. It was maybe that disc was a 3/4 of an inch down by the hub, and then out on the end it was only about an eighth of an inch
So,
thick.
okay.
There was a rim there about maybe inch and a quarter long, but I had so I could show you something.
There's a pen.
Had a piece of paper.
Good.
I'll have a piece of paper.
We'll get something for you to write on. Yeah. Can I get a book?
Oh, there's a tab there. Oh, this thing is made something like this. See, and that'll be the hub. See, with a hole. Well, it won't look like that. More circular, like this, and the hole will have to go through. The hole will have to go through here like this. See,
Oh, yes.
that's right. That fits down to this big shaft, and these holes vary in size because they fit different diameters on the shaft.
I
See?
see. Mm-hmm. And what was this part called that you
And
just drawn here?
this is the disc. This is the disc, and then the fins or the blades fit onto that, and well, something like that, and so that blade is as it rotates around with the shaft, it keeps sucking air in, see, and compressing it back to the turbine.
Oh, yes.
And so that's what we made those by and then after they get them all machined up and mounted on the shaft, and they have to balance them so they would balance so they wouldn't be eccentrically fragile. They have to run at 3,500 RPM and still stay together. And And we had a pit built in the ground, that over this plant on Saginaw, and it hang that assembled compressor and turbine down into that pit, and rotated the 3,500 RPM. Supposed to be balanced so that it would stay together and remain concentric. Once in a while, one would have a flaw and then it'd blow up down in that pit, see? And, but I guess they checked them all.
What would happen when one would blow up?
Oh, all those blades and discs and stuff would come out, pieces about that big.
Right, see.
And just explode on 3,500 RPM is moving right along.
That's the turbines they used in the Jet Sapphire.
Yeah. We built them for the British, I guess. There was a British contract. We were Buick was the main contractor, and we had a subcontractor. Buick, I think, eventually assembled them and shipped them out. We built the shaft and the compressor discs and the turbine discs, and that was all. Oh, I know. I had 50 of those discs on each, those blades on each of those discs, and all those were very precisely machined and ground, and the surface is important, for the smoothness of the surface, and the correct. I forget the term they call it, but finish on it, and the weight. Each one had to weigh within a certain amount of grams, and had to be machined. Of course, it was all figured out in the machining, that they would all come out weighing about the same amount of ounces or grams or whatever measured by it.
But you were still machining, working on the machining end.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I wasn't doing any machining. I was in engineering. I was keeping track of the process.
Okay.
And
Of the tests?
yeah.
I see. So
But,
this was,
Rube Chipman. There's a guy. There's a guy I worked with. Rube Chipman. He was kind of a bullheaded guy, and his own way, and he had an idea that he wanted to proceed with. And he usually did.
was he your boss?
Yeah. Well, he was my boss. Yeah, he was a senior engineer, and I just worked with him, checked different things around the plant.
Do you remember what you were earning then?
Oh, I was on salary, and I can't remember what my salary was.
So you went on salary then during the war?
Yeah, well, during that term of engineering, I was an engineer fellow. For the comedy sketch, last week you said I couldn't spell engineer, ENJUNERE or something like that. He says today I are one. So that was my status. I was I was about that kind of an engineer, except that I had a lot of practical experience and could handle a job. I didn't make any magnanimous decisions or anything.
Well, then, did you keep up your, union membership?
Oh, yeah.
When you became salaried?
Yeah, they disbanded that after they decided they had enough engines made and they wanted the space for something else. And they disbanded the engine production.
The Jet Sapphire.
Yeah, and when I crankshafts or something, I forget what they did with it.
But then, what happened to you?
I went back to the tool
In the building 40?
Picked up when I left the house.
That's in building 40.
Yeah.
And, but by that time you were on a salary.
Yeah, well, I was on the salary just as long as I was considered an engineer. See.
I see.
I went back to hourly rate. I think so.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. Then, what did you do? How many years did you spend in the tool room? Is that where you retired from?
Yeah, retired from the tool room.
In what year?
Retired in 1969.
1969.
20 years ago.
So if you came in 33, you retired in 69, you were there 36 years.
Yeah. I figured 36. So I think I got credit for 37 years. I worked, you know, we weren't going to allow us that first, when I first was in the experimental, Oldsmobile experimental, but we finally broke down and said we could have all get credit for all the years we put in. So I got credit for about 37 years.
Well, what decided you to retire?
Old age. Figured it was more lucrative to retire than for us to work. So,
But you retired from the tool room in building 40 and you were doing primarily machining the tools for the machines in the plant as you had before.
all kinds of repair work, machine repair, building parts and stuff. And I know I left my engineering job and went back into the tool room. I was working nights. I was working days, I guess. So I got a call at 2:00 in the morning at my home, and this guy that he was also moved back into tool maintenance and repair stuff. And somebody had got a motor block hung up in a transfer machine, these transfer shafts, and put a crook in the and buckled that shaft up and hit it with my thumb. Now, you ought to talk. He can tell you a lot of yarns about Oldsmobile too. But anyway, he called me up. This ship in. He called me up in the middle of the night and wanted me to get down there to look after repairing this shaft that got buckled up like it. So I did. I got down there.
We can shut this off.
Didn't do much about it, but
if you'd like, we can shut this off for a moment and pick. Mr. Ording, can you think of any major things that happened, major events when you were working at Oldsmobile?
oh,
things that stand out.
Off the cuff. I wouldn't venture anything like that.
Well,
My perception of it would be more confusing than informative. I'm afraid.
well, does any occasions stand out in your mind that made quite an impression on you?
They're always coming down. What would you want to see with that? I remember going to have under 8.
Not at the moment. I can't conjure up anything. You know, when you spend that many years, it's just more or less routine every day. You know, as far as any major changes or anything, it's a big place to accentuate or to put emphasis on any particular thing. There's so many astonishing things goes on there every day that to sort single out one one
Well, I
thing.
was just thinking of something that in connection with your experience that seemed outstanding to you. But maybe that was,
When I got knocked back on the hourly from salary, that was that was a blow.
just when you left the Jet Sapphire and
Yeah.
moved back to the main plant too.
Yeah.
Did you think that was gonna happen? Did you have,
Yeah, but if I went back to the job, or get back in,
but if you had,
no excuse. Pay me a executive salary when I was an executive. Special.
well, would you have had a job if you hadn't gone back to the tool room? Would they have tried to place you someplace else?
It's a special job. Wiping it out. And everybody that was on, except the people that had always been on salary, they stayed on salary. That's impersonating engineers.
We're all set. Now you were mentioning Mr. Athey.
Yeah. I work for AP. I don't know. I think he's gone. Dead and gone
I'll
now.
check that, but I believe you're right.
Yeah.
What kind of a man was he to work for?
Oh, nice person. He always treated me right. And very nice man.
So when you left the Jet Sapphire and came back to the main plant, you were working for him again.
Well, I guess so. I think he was still general foreman.
Well, Dave, good to see you. Thank you. Bye.
I can't forget when he left, or when he retired, or whether I was there then or not. I don't know.
I see.
I just wondered if you wanted to.
We're all set again here. What about labor relations? Now, see, you were in hourly first, then you went into salary for a while, and then you came back to the main plant and, but do you,
Back on the other,
was there any problem, in that, there was no adjustment? You don't remember any, what about that strike after?
I remember I got to attend the salaried person's Christmas party or something over in the auditorium and got a basket full of cheese.
Oh, you won one.
Basket full of cheese.
Nice. What about the strike after the war there in 45, 46? How did that affect you?
That had an effect on me. I had to go out and get another job.
Really?
Yeah. I went to Kalamazoo and I worked over in Kalamazoo and drove back and forth and no, I think we had got a room, an apartment over there. And another guy and my wife stayed here in town with the kids. But I went back and I went over to Kalamazoo and worked for the Ballers Machine Tool Company. They used to make those when they first started these electric lighters, you know, cigarette lighters. They made cigarette lighters. That was their product. And then they made contract tools and fixtures and dies and what have you, you know, for other companies. So I worked over there for, you know, a year maybe. And then a couple of other guys and I went on Jackson and worked for Kelsey Hayes, wheel, I guess it is.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Still making machine tools.
yeah. I was working down there when the strike was over and they had been on strike down there too, and they got a raise in salary, so I got a raise in salary or wages, you know, and they had the paid vacation coming, you know.
Is that at Kelsey Hayes?
Kelsey Hayes, so I got deferred paid vacation, so I got back from after the strike was over and back into old. I was getting a check from somebody every other day for going away, either back pay or either catching up on the pay that you were supposed to have gotten.
Or were you paid during the strike, or did you get a
Oh, yeah.
percentage of your pay?
Well, we got paid regular every week, but in the meantime, they were negotiating a increase in wages down there, so I got in on that. So I got an extra check for that.
Well, so you mean even if you weren't working roles during the strike, you still got a check from the union?
Yeah, from the company, no, from the Kelsey Hayes.
Kelsey Hayes.
Yeah, I think I got 2 or 3 extra checks from them on account of their maneuverings on that.
Then you came back to Oldsmobile. Had you been knocking on Old's door, or did they come after you, or how did you get back
They
in?
were just sent us notice that we're going back to work. Yeah,
I
going
see.
back to work.
Okay. And then you went right back to your same job.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what benefits you then began receiving, like vacations, or do you remember what you were earning?
Got a raise. I forget what it was. Probably 10 cent raise or something like that, you know. But I couldn't tell you.
But conditions on the whole were pretty good at Olds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A few,
Yeah, our relationship with the union and the old were always congenial, more or less, you know. Nothing serious or popped up that couldn't be ironed out.
special incident that you worked on to get it adjusted?
Never. I didn't have too much immediate union.
That went through a committee man?
No.
Do you remember the name of the committee man?
Pardon?
Do you remember the name of a committee man?
He was just in here.
Your son?
Dave.
Dave Ording.
Yeah.
Sakes.
Yeah, he was a committee man for a year. In fact, he wanted to he was negotiating to get upstairs and processing and like that. And they kept putting him off. He finally found out that he was a committee man. And it wasn't good, though he had to quit his job as committee man before he'd consider him as a salary employee. See.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But he got up there anyway.
Well, now, but when was that he was the committee man, that you were there too? What year was that?
I wouldn't know. It was after he got back from the war. He used to work in production. He was working in production right after he got out of high school, and then I was in the tool room, and they had the tool apprentice program, you know. Well, they still have it now. I don't know. Yes, they do.
Did you go to that?
No, I served my apprenticeship at Rio.
Oh, you worked at Rio.
Yeah. That's where I served my apprenticeship over Rio.
Let's drop over to Rio here. When did you hire in at Rio?
Oh, I forgot.
How long did you work at Rio?
Well, right after I got out of high school, I went to college for a year and
What college was that?
Ferris Institute.
What did you study there?
Oh, bookkeeping, business, of
You see?
course. And I got a job with Ithaca, up in Western Ithaca, North Star Elevator Company. And I worked for about a year up there, and I didn't like it up there, so I decided I'd get back to, and inquired about it. I had a friend who was working as an apprentice at Oldsmobile, and so he said, "Come on down to Olds and get a job down there." So I did, and they hired me, and
You mean Rio?
Rio. Yeah, Rio.
So that's where you served your apprenticeship and the tool making?
Mm-hmm.
How long is that apprenticeship?
Well, it wasn't really a tool making. They had tool and die making, and that's just an apprentice machine operator. That's what I was, just a machine operator, see. Of course, I got a lot of good experience.
Conditions over in the Rio pretty much the same as they were at Olds as far as working conditions?
That's the same.
It was a pretty clean shop.
Yeah.
Remember any of the names of people that you worked with at Rio?
Old, I guess.
Good many did, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Good many did.
Yeah.
So what were you in the Rio, about a year or two?
Oh, yeah, I was there probably 3 or 4 years.
You see.
And Teal,
Harry
Teal, he was the works manager over there, and he had three or four sons, three sons, I guess, and a daughter. And they all worked over there at the Rio. And
Did Rio pay about the same as Oldsmobile?
yeah, about the same.
You remember how much you were getting there at Rio?
No, I don't. I don't remember. What is- Oh, let's see. I think the standard wages for apprentices, 35 cents an hour. That was the maximum. Person, if you got a job, then you got slightly higher wages. I forget, but 35 cents an hour kind of sticks to my head as the maximum
Okay.
for apprentice.
How long was that apprentice program? 6 months or 8 months?
Couple of years.
Couple of years. I see. Then after you got through the apprentice program at Rio, what job did you get into at Rio?
Well, whatever happened to be open, machining.
Yeah, working in
Machining,
machines.
a lot of people got hired as assistant foreman and stuff after completing the machining or
Apprentice training.
yeah,
But you worked on machines and machined different tools and
yeah.
that type of thing. Did they have pretty good equipment?
And we
over
used to
there?
go out during our training. We'd go out in the shop and do some routine work out in the shop that needed some extra help,
Now, what kind of routine work would that be?
Oh, find it hard to conjure up one particular job. Well, one thing that I can think of, that the Rio was making their own gears for the transmission, and they had a battery of gear shapers in there, Fellows gear shapers and Gleason, and they were, I think they made their own gears before Olds did, In fact, Rio had a reputation for making 90% of their own parts. They even made frames, the frame for
For the
the
automobile?
car. They even had a department where they made frames, and the sheet metal department upstairs where they made doors and everything else, sheet metal. And but that was uh, proven to be a mistake. You can't make any money that way. Making all those parts. You gotta have a plant that makes doors, and a plant that makes bumpers, and a plant that makes frames and stuff, and make any money and be efficient.
Well, was this during the Depression then? You mean, would this have been in the late 20s and then 29, 30, 31 that you were at Rio?
Well, I graduated from high school in 2022.
22, and then that next year or that same year
Yeah.
you went to Paris
Yeah.
for a year.
Yeah.
So this would be
about
maybe
24. I'd say 24.
24,
Yeah.
25, 26, before the Depression, you were there at Rio.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
What, during the Depression, did you work there at Rio during the Depression? 29, 30, 31?
No, I don't think I worked during the Depression. I went to work with my brother-in-law on the farm
Okay,
during the Depression.
so then you were let out of the Rio. Do you remember what time that was?
I was during the Depression. That hit when I was at Olds, I think. That was,
You came in
that
33
was
at the Olds.
33.
I was trying to figure out in
Well,
those
when was the
intervening
depression?
years.
I was 36, 37.
Still in the depression, but
Yeah.
what were you doing like in 28, 29, 30, 31? Those years, do you remember?
Well, I worked for my brother-in-law out on a farm. He had a little tenant house out there, and I went out and helped him get crops in, and take care of his farm, and then there's a guy over here in Victor Township that was a school teacher at Pattonville, and he had a 40 or 60 acre land out there with some muck ground on it, and I went to work for him. He needed a man, so I went and worked for him for a couple of years. And from his place, I went back to the Olds.
Back to the Olds, you
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
was that
at
in
the Olds?
33?
Yeah, 33.
So, but then you must have been at the Olds before that a
Yeah,
little while.
yeah. I was at the Olds
Were you,
when the crash came.
okay, were you, working on the Viking engine by
The
any
Vikings,
chance?
that's the one.
Is that VH you were saying?
Yeah,
Talking about? Uh-huh.
think of the name. Viking, that's what it was.
So then you were at Olds in 28, 29,
Yeah,
around there.
yeah.
I see. What do you think of that Viking engine?
But it's okay. Well, not long after it was disbanded or discontinued, my uncle from down Cincinnati, he was up here, and my brother was a priest over in Detroit, and Oxford, I guess it was Oxford, where he was, and they built a new church there or something, and my uncle, he was a carpenter, and he took all the old pews out of the old church and refinished them and set them up in the new church. And he had a Viking. That's he was a bachelor, and he had the Viking. He drove it from my brother's place in Detroit down to Williamston, where our old farm was.
Was that a sedan? Or
Pardon?
was that a Viking sedan or a two-door or
That was a sedan.
a sedan?
Yeah. He run in the ditch, and he was bringing my mother. My mother lived with me, my brother, the priest, and he was bringing her down to Williamston to the farm. And we run into a ditch or something, and like the car out, and she suffered a broken shoulder. And she was laid up for that for a while. But I don't know what become of the car.
That'd be quite a
He's
collector's
the
item.
only, yeah, he was one of the last persons that I knew that had a Viking.
When you got your instructions on your job, did the boss come around every day and tell you what to do, or did you have something that you read each day?
You word from a blueprint.
But who gave you your blueprints? Your foreman?
Yeah.
I see.
It comes on from engineering, plant maintenance, or wherever they issue blueprints from, for machine parts.
Did you have any deadlines that you had to get something done in a certain length of time? Do you remember any
Yeah,
deadlines?
yeah. We're supposed to be working on schedule, you know, get things out. I guess we were successful in getting them out, faster than you get them from Chicago, for instance, or Detroit or Battle Creek or wherever else you might be going to buy a particular part.
Do you remember any problems or where you couldn't meet a deadline or what happened?
No, if you didn't meet it, you didn't meet it. No, no harm done. You
Yeah.
just waited until you got it done. I don't remember anybody being beheaded or anything because you didn't get done, you know, at 5:30 on a certain day.
So really, the working conditions and the people you worked with were very congenial, weren't they?
Yeah, sure.
Then you retired in
Sure.
'69.
Lots of times you'd have to leave one of these jobs aside and pick up something that was more,
Priority.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
you work on that.
So you retired in '69. Do you have any old memorabilia like photographs or clippings or anything that you that we might look through or you'd like to show us?
Look at where they are now. I'm sure we got some of them somewhere.
Well, Mr. Ording, if you run onto any that you'd like us to look at, you know, Jim and I are collecting different items for the library. If you wanted to loan us a photo, we could have it copied and return the photo to you. Or if it was something you wanted to give to the library, we could do that too. But so many people like you who have been retired.
We used to take every year or so, or we'd take a picture of the gang down the tour room, you know. One of them was dark, where the freight trains come in to pick up the ships and stuff.
See, something like that would be interesting.
Yeah.
When you run onto them, I'll leave my card with you, and maybe you can give us a call. We now, do you have anything else you want to share with us? This has been a very interesting interview. We've learned a great deal.
Just ramble on, you know. Sometimes things come in my head that I remember not very clearly, like trying to draw a sketch of this compressor plate and this. But,
Who was your boss at the time you retired? Do you recall that?
oh yeah, I guess 80 was.
Still Mr. Athey.
And stuff. I think he retired about 10 then. I left there shortly after.
Do you remember what your salary or your wage was when you retired in '69? Okay.
69, yeah. Yeah, well, I know it wasn't anything about a half or less than half of what beginners get nowadays. I think I made less than $6 an hour. Now they start in at 10, something like that. Out of high school, they go down and get a job at Olds for $10 an hour. You know.
But the union really helped the hourly worker in
Oh
other
yeah,
benefits too, didn't
definitely, definitely. And, of course, I don't know what would have happened if they didn't have a union, but that seems to be the route to take if you wanted to get a living wage.
it seems to have worked very well.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, I'm sure. I never got over $6 an hour. I think I got $5.95 or something like that. That was my maximum wage. Of course, I got a little more than that when I was on salary. Mine's all brown.
Well, I got our little form here. You're sure that you can't think of anything else you'd like to share with us right now? If you run onto any
Yeah.
photographs or clippings or things you kept, please call us. And Jim and I would like to come out and take a peek at them, and then we could have them copied and return them to you so that you would have them in your. Sure, we have this little agreement form, if you don't mind. You want to sign it now? Can you do it right there on this little book here? Okay. You can
Right
sign right here, right there, and then I'll also sign it too. This is an oral history interview, Tuesday, October 31st, 1989 at 9:30 with James P. Ording, Ording, 4210 Stabler, Lansing, Michigan, 48910, phone 517-882-8550, and Helen Earley of the Oldsmobile History Center, Lansing, Michigan.